Okay. Well, now I'll take a moment here and get us introduced and get us kicked off, and then hopefully we'll get things wrapped up kind of quick and kind of get us all back to our families and doing what we need to do. So, with that, my name is Warren Cobb, and we have the rest of the board here of Lee Chenoweth, Paul Riddle, and Chris Hamilton here, and then Russell Beasley as well is on our board. So Randy Cahill from Real Manage, and then Cipra Boyd. And so with that has joined us here tonight. So with this is our annual meeting, and then so with this we're just going to kind of go through the agenda. Pretty simple this evening, so we'll do the call to order and have that. And so Randy, I think you're taking notes from what I heard. Okay. So we'll just do our call to order, and from a light perspective, I have a little trouble reading. Sorry about that. So, introduction to board members and management company, already did that, so fantastic. Approval of the 2019 annual minutes, that is included inside the document that y'all have here. So that just has those notes from our meeting notes. Chris signed those. So if anybody has any questions on those or comments, I guess we can go ahead and take those. And then once everybody has reviewed that, or as you feel these are complete, we can have somebody first and then second them. And with that, I could even do a first on that for us. So, okay, great. So I'll do it first and Paul a second. Okay, great.
All in favor?
Okay, fabulous. And great. So then we've got the financial report. So Lee is our treasurer and has done a great job keeping up with this. So Lee, I'll turn that over and let you.
The second page, the back page of the first page has the financial, has obviously what we did in 2017, 2018, and it shows the 2019 budget, and then it shows the actual numbers for 2019. And if you run down, the one major thing that was out of whack was trash, and it has 13 months worth of trash dues in it. Waste Management always billed a month later versus the new company bills in the same month. So we had 13 months of trash pickup, and we should have only had 12. So we were over by $2,600 in that category. The city trash reimbursement was just like it always is. The security was right where it always is. Landscaping, I think there was a comment about landscaping. The landscaping company came to us and said they'd been billing us like $120 a month for like 12 years. And that was a mistake on their end. And so they had to raise the price because we'd had the same price for 12 years.
Well, if you look at it, it says in 2017 it was $1,700, and then in 2019 it was $4,000, and then they raised it to $6,000.
They haven't raised, that's the $6,000 is the budget for 2019.
So what you're saying is that's what you're just budgeting that in case you need it?
Yeah, that's the budget number, $6,000. And so as you can see, for 27, 2018, it was within $100 of each other. And we probably did a little, $100 worth of extra work that year and in 2018. But like I said, they had been billing us incorrectly for several years. They finally caught it in their system. And so we were over in that category because they adjusted the price in 2019. And I think with Randy's help, we're going to bid that out. Mm-hmm. And we may lose civil sands and go to a different company, but we'll just have to wait till all that fair out.
Isn't it just the little area on Memorial that they do?
No, they do the rat entrance off of Memorial, and they do the wink entrance off of Memorial.
And Highbury.
And Highbury.
Right,
So there's.
And then they mow the ditches too?
Yeah, they do. They do.
They don't.
They don't.
Oh,
And
they are
that's
supposed
why
to
I'm very curious, because I call
They do
in Harris County.
they do the external ditches. They don't do anything else.
What do you mean?
They don't drive into it. They just do
They don't
around
do
it.
it. I live right next to River
Okay.
Ridge
No,
Flood,
they
so
do
that's
the ditch
why
on
I came and was
Memorial.
asking. And we call Harris County Flood Control, or I don't know what your number is. We've got some judge's number.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
you
live
can
by
find
the
it.
house.
I don't think their scope includes what we're talking about between our houses.
Yeah, the easement is what you're talking
You're
about.
talking about the
Okay.
ditch.
We take care, no, the part that's in front, we take care of. The part that's by the street, we take care of. no man's land is what the other people take care of. Your people don't take care of any of it, and that's why I was curious. Now, I'd love them to start, because when it gets overgrown, we have to call or,
then have somebody come out.
But hang on, just a second, just time out just for a second. So, we're talking about two different things here. So,
Okay.
at the entrances of the neighborhoods and the ditches that run on the exterior of them is one thing that they do. But are you talking about the easement that's next to your home?
well, I don't know. if
Because
it's
I don't call that a
easement.
ditch, I
Is
call
that
that
what
an
it's called
easement.
technically?
Harris County.
Well, see,
Flood Control.
there's,
It's where the ditch was.
well, it
Is that
was,
beside Pitney
it was a ditch. Now, but it's really considered, it's really considered an easement. It's really considered an easement, and it's really not their scope.
Yeah, it's not the landscaping company's
Right,
scope.
that's
I
not what you
do-
said. I was
I
curious.
do
Right.
have landscapers that will, on a, not as frequently as they would do the other common areas, but maybe once a month, run theirs over it to keep that tamped down.
And I
so
would
when
love
we
that, and
put
that's
out
why
to
I
bid-
brought it up,
Right.
because since we are neighbors, we
No,
should maintain it, and it's really not ours, it's really yours, but we do it. we
It's
go
not the-
outside.
It's really Harris County.
It's really Harris County. It's not
Harris
Lakeview.
County doesn't do shit.
Yeah, Lakeview doesn't own any
They'll
property.
do it
Lakeview
quarterly
owns
at
no
best.
property whatsoever.
Okay.
So the ask is, we're gonna see if they will, if they
Yeah.
can touch it once a month, and, because it would be nice to
See
keep
what
it
those
clean.
costs are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we do the front, like I said, we grassed it in, we all take care of
I
the,
think you ruin all the snakes and all the critters. Come on, man, really?
thank you,
Come
that's
on,
why I was
really?
bringing it up.
Okay.
Operating, just to continue on down the line, operating, we were over budget by $400, $486, because we had a bunch of mailings that went out in the year, and that's why we were over budget. The D&O insurance was on track. The GL insurance is a new item that we felt like we need, but it's in budget. And legal fees were over budget because we had a lot of things that were out of compliance. And thank you to Real Manage to help us get back into compliance there. And then our CPA fees to do our tax returns. And other than that, and then Real Manage
D&O insurance.
directors and officers.
Thank you.
Why do we have to do a tax return? I've never done,
It's required.
Yeah, we've been doing the tax returns forever.
Rick, did you,
No, I thought we didn't do it, I started doing it.
oh, you started
Yeah,
it?
because
So once you started it, you kind of created the whole thing?
Well, we were required to do it in order to keep
Yeah.
our tax exempt status, you gotta file a return.
Yes.
You know, we don't pay tax,
503C?
I forget the number,
Oh, okay.
whatever it is.
I don't think we're,
It's a 4, because it's not tax deductible.
We're a 504? Okay. All right.
504.
All right.
Why are we changing
Because this is a membership fee, your HOA dues are a membership fee, not a charitable contribution, so you can't write them off on your taxes unless it's a income producing property for you, and then you cut it. So we're
talking
tax.
about our individual taxes. I'm saying why, I mean, we are a nonprofit organization, so we don't have to pay tax.
we don't pay tax.
No, we don't.
But you're required to file a return.
Oh, we have to pay
Return.
CPA final return is what
I
he's
always
saying.
did it when I was.
Well, I wasn't willing to do it, and so I got a CPA. I'm not a CPA. Yes, sir.
So, I understand the legal fees going up quite a bit last year, because of all the catch up that we had to do. And we ran over budget on that, by about almost $4,000. What is the $6,000 you've got budgeted for? If we're all caught up, what are we gonna do this year?
Well, I'm not sure that we're 100% caught up, and so we budgeted for that. That got approved in October's meeting, I think, is when it was approved. And so hopefully we don't spend it, but we budgeted for it.
Well, our attorney's right there, so,
You've got a house on Memorial that needs some attention.
okay. But that's what I'm
That's what
Yeah,
it's
that's
usually.
what you're going-
Is it the same house that we've had the trouble with for all these years? We're still having trouble with
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're on that.
Yeah.
Question I have for you, are you gonna go after them for your fees as well?
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
good answer.
Lots of luck anyway.
Well, good.
Never
I've had
know.
these.
Never
Get a
know.
judgment, they gotta pay it, right?
You'll be surprised.
Legal fees
Good,
well.
thank you for that.
All the
Actually-
faith in Sifra.
Actually, we should foreclose it on it. But go ahead.
And so anyway, that's where we fell out for 2019.
I doubt
There's
that.
3 homes that haven't paid their 2019 homeowners dues. And you if there's any other.
What are you gonna do about that?
We're gonna,
Stick me on them too.
yeah,
Because they're really going
That-
to 2 years now.
yeah, exactly.
The standard operating procedure is end of March, April, and the board and I are discussing meeting dates for April. We'll sit down, we'll go through what the delinquency report looks like then, and anything that is in arrears 2 or more years will, my recommendation is that they be sent to SIPRA for collections.
Are these
Our
always the
attorney.
same ones? Because it's always been 2 or 3, because it's been the same ones.
I'd have to look at older records.
Pretty much the same one. It's one for sure. Although we had from 2018, we were 100, believe it or not, we were 100%, because of all the efforts that all of us went through to go collect.
We have a process on that, I mean, like you remember Lakeside.
Yeah.
We have a process on Lakeside, if you're 60 days, you
Right.
can post it.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
really sees your
Yeah.
name up there, and we have a process.
Legally, we can't.
We don't have a wall of shame.
I'm just trying to understand what the
The
process is.
process is to send them their invoice, then send them a demand letter, another demand letter, and then turn it over to me. I'll send a couple of demand letters, and then we file suit.
We can put a Trump sign in the front yard.
You're on top of
Yes, sir?
I used to just go knock on Sunday afternoon, I just go sit on their doorstep.
I'm not
I
hearing
never-
that.
I
but,
never,
you know,
I
that's
never
who
had,
we
I
need
never
to-
had one bad day.
We were 100% paid up through 2018. Even the House of Memorial had paid.
it. Yeah.
And 2019, we had the 3. 2 of them are on Memorial, and one of them is on Dorette, I believe.
Under red?
I think it's Abshire, isn't it? Is it
I
Abshire?
shouldn't say.
Yeah.
Okay, he's on the red, isn't he? Okay, all right.
Any other questions financially?
That's great, thank you.
All right, so with that, Randy, do you want to talk about the election piece? Is that what you?
Yes. In your notice, you guys were advised that so far we had one homeowner who was up for election, and that was Warren. I issued a solicitation for candidates and did not hear from anybody. Therefore, we have 2 open board seats, only one of which has a candidate for it, and for that reason, Warren wins his position again. Congratulations. By acclamation. So there's no need to hold a formal vote.
You're so loved. Yeah, okay.
By default.
By default.
You can't be the person who doesn't show up.
Hey,
So do we have a forum for
We do.
board members with just the board?
Actually, we have
This particular meeting requires a quorum of the membership, which we have tonight. So,
But from a board point of view, how many do we have to have?
5 directors.
5?
you need, bylaws say 5 directors. This leaves 4 on the board, so at any given meeting, as long as I have 3 board members present, they'll meet the requirement.
if you don't want to do it, I'll jump in. If you don't want
So, I mean, I'm okay with riding through this year, next year. I'll come on.
Well, there's an open spot.
Yeah, we have an open spot. Yeah.
Can I nominate right
to.
now?
Go for it.
Do we do that now?
Go for
I
it.
reckon it.
Oh, sorry.
I nominate Brad Lawrence to be a 6th member.
I'll second it.
5th member.
Additional.
Whatever member.
We have
Whatever.
5 right now, and you do the 6th.
Chief cook, bottle washer. We're good.
Does your wife know?
I'll get it from here. What's your address real quick?
You still live in the neighborhood?
I'm at the underpass of I-10 and Bunker Hill.
You live in Lakeview.
11850.
Just when you're out in New Mexico.
No, I'm only here half the year, but I'll still participate.
So we have 2 open seats and 2 candidates. Both Warren and Brad have won their positions by acclamation. Congratulations, guys.
They really like me.
All right, good job.
That easy?
That's
simple?
the election, guys.
Okay. That's great.
Um,
So then we want to go to our Q&A piece, and so we sent out or Randy and them sent out a questionnaire on a couple of different little items, and I'll say that just, one of the reasons I got involved on this organization was that I felt that a few things around the neighborhood were kind of slipping by the side, or, a few homes were getting run down that needed to be fixed up. I felt like, the entrances were not super ideal the way they've been taken care of. So with that, and also just, once I got on board, we found the things out, we got the real manager involved, so everything is taking shape. So now just kind of look at kind of maybe a phase 2 of what we could maybe do to make the neighborhood a little bit better. I had talked to Randy and Lee, and I'm not sure if we're going to talk to Chris or Paul or Russell on this, maybe Russell, but we just talked about, what could we do to the neighborhood, and also let me take a step back. When there was some time ago, even before I was involved on the board this level, I think there was something that we had to go around and get a certain amount I helped Don Baldridge with it. We had to get a certain amount of people to sign off on it. I think we had to increase the dues by a certain dollar amount, and we had to get everybody to sign it. So part of that was, when I went around to go do that, my part, I had several people say, oh, I wish you would raise it more, and I wish y'all would do more for the neighborhood, like the entrances and things of that nature. So that's where part of that idea came from. And so I had just talked about, I believe that Randy sent that out in the notice, that, possibly upgrading the entrances. The signs are not in good shape at all. They're hung on the walls, and, Chris Springer is very nice and goes out and puts the wreaths up, and when he went out there and when he did it this year, one of them fell off, and the one on Memorial, when you're heading down past Durrett and Wink, that one's really rotted. It's about to fall in. So we need to do something about the signage. And then I had just made the comment that there's some neighborhoods that have changed their light poles out instead of having just the galvanized light poles, or real tall. They put off kind of a funky glow, and they're not real appealing. But some neighborhoods, and I was told by another person that you can get a credit to when they go to replace those poles, to put in a nice decorative type of pole possibly. And so anyway, I just thought that was, something to at least visit the idea of, maybe get a bid on it and see what the cost would be. And so with that, Randy had sent that out, and there was a few people that responded. And so I think that's really where we wanted to kind of go with that tonight, on kind of a question and answer segment.
Yeah, so far what I've received is that overwhelmingly, you guys want to focus on signage and the entrances, so walls, towers, that kind of thing. The next step is, on that same questionnaire, there was a place for homeowners to say, do you want to be involved in the committee that'll be, tasked with coming up with a solution that fits for y'all's neighborhood? The board could certainly ask me to do it, but I don't live in Lakeview, so my opinion of what may be best for your community may not hit the nail on the head. So I find that it's much more effective to enlist homeowners themselves to ensure that they're happy with the final product that they get. So the next step will be reaching out to those homeowners that have expressed interest and really formulating a game plan, getting bids, and moving forward. I'm certain once we have a plan, the board will ask me to communicate it to you guys, and we'll go from there. Yes, ma'am.
Well, first, I'd like to say that I don't see any reason why you're looking for a place for us to spend money. Light posts, that's absurd. There's nothing wrong with our light posts. Thank you. Landscaping, hey, I've never liked the landscaping. It's doable. It works. If you start with landscaping, you need to have irrigation, you need a place to get water. You had budgeted for last year $5,000. That wouldn't even cover putting in irrigation. And if without the irrigation, you're not going to have anything that's durable enough to stay alive. I'm doing it for 25 years. I'd be happy to work with somebody in it. But it's a lot of money. And it's a lot more than that.
It is. You're absolutely right.
I think that we understand that, or I shouldn't say we think, we understand your points with that. And so that's where there would possibly be a need to either increase the dues to cover that, and have much better looking entrances with where you're able to tap the water and put in an irrigation system and have better landscaping put in where it would cost something to do. But we'd spread that cost among 110 homes.
Well, the only better landscaping that you can do is add color. You can have seasonal color, okay, which would make it very attractive. And again, I think the irrigation is an issue, but it would be great to have seasonal color. It would be awesome.
Well, and that may be something with the signage where maybe there's a flower box or a bed that's created underneath that. So in conjunction with the committee and the vendors, we may be able to come up with a cost-effective solution that really gives you guys some.
Well,
some
and
positive
this is,
benefits.
I have an interesting question for the board. I'm not on the board yet, but I have an interesting question for the
Actually,
board.
you are.
Okay, I'm on the board. Okay, I have a question for myself. Why are we even asking the membership for permission
To spend their money.
to improve the signage, to improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood? That should be a given. I don't even understand why we even ask for permission for that kind of stuff.
It wasn't permission, it was input.
It's an expense.
It's an expense, but the fact of the matter is, we as, all of us in this room and everyone else, we want the neighborhood to look first class. The fact that our signs are in repair is ridiculous to require a vote, or ridiculous to come people in front and to ask for permission. That makes no sense.
Yeah, can I make two comments on
Sure.
it? I think Brad is actually correct from the governance point of view. I mean, from the governance point of view, we elect a board, we approve a budget, and as long as you stay within that budget, that should be a discretionary thing. that the board
Absolutely.
should do. Anything, I've been involved with governance for a long, long time, over a career, and that's one of the reasons you do get the board, is to give you the discretion of the budget. Now, we approve the budget, and you guys manage it all, so I agree with Brad on that. Maxine had a lot of good comments, but I would also say, I think it's just 1/110th of the vote. It's the signage and the entrances do say something about people driving into our neighborhood. So, from my perspective, I think you guys are spot on in that regard, and particularly when the signage is all important. So, I think we should spend a little time there. I think that's a really good idea. And I would hope that our landscaping, quite frankly, looking at the cost, we're going to pay more for landscaping than just three entrances. And I
That's just
pay,
me.
and I understand the maintenance, but I pay less than what we're paying them for, a half an acre. That they come every week and do a hell of a job on it. So, I would expect that you, Andy, would kind of be able to manage that and see, and I would think that they would keep up and all, the landscaping, and if we could get, probably just a bit better pricing, if they're just mowing a small little areas there, compared to all of our own, right? So, we shouldn't be spending more money than we spend having people come in every week. So I think you guys should manage that pretty well. On the lighting, I agree with Maxine in the sense that I look at lighting in our neighborhood as a safety issue. And it's maintained by the city. And we've had an occasion where a light goes off and you call the number and they're out into the day. It's pretty darn good. And I know decorative lighting and stuff is nice, but I wonder if it gives us the same amount of light on the street and home areas as what we currently have. Because I see that as a real security issue. And, before we do something there, I would really want to make sure that we're not talking about, the gas lamp type vehicle lights that go off a little light and
You don't want to lose any illumination.
you don't want to lose any at all, because clearly, from a safety point of view, I think the constables here tonight, I don't know, but from a safety point of view, the more lighting we have, the better.
Right. And which to me leads into the white light versus the ambient light. We have the amber lights, is what we have in most of our street lights. We can convert to the bright lights and make. I think
Like LED lights.
The LED lights would make a huge difference.
So just one thing on a comment on this, is that again, and good points on that, and all valid, the idea was to, instead of coming here and ruling and saying, hey, here, because we can only do what we can spend, we have to get input from everybody, and that's, good input tonight. So I think that we're going to try to put together a little committee on this, and so we can get some buy-in from people and we go to it on the lights. So just one thing to address on it would be that, Randy brought to my attention that it's the city council person in the position here, they have dollars to spend. And so we can kind of lobby them a little bit to they help cover the difference in cost, because they are going to be changing these lights out over time, is what you're saying, Randy?
They are moving to the LED lights.
So they are changing those. So if you get it, if your pole is, $600.
Well, the pole, you don't change the pole. The pole doesn't have, in a conversion from a, whatever kind of lamp it is, to an LED, you don't change the pole, you just change the fixture.
Housing.
It's not a pole thing.
Did they change our
I
pole by the
think
LED?
we've got two different conversations. There was one
for me.
school of thought that perhaps we go to a better looking light fixture and then going to the brighter white light.
Well,
So if all we're doing is
It's LED.
switching to the LEDs, then there's no need to change poles. It's a much different spectrum. The other thing that I wanted to point out really quickly, or just clarify, is the board didn't ask me to come to you guys for your input because we're asking for permission. It was, we know there's improvements that need to be made. We did not budget for what they are likely to be. So these would be an unbudgeted expense that we would then vote about.
Hold on a second. Why would first of all, I'm going to speak for me only. Why would we spend $1 for the replacement of a pole unless someone else is going to spend the dollars? If someone else is going to spend the dollars, that's great. But when it comes to the LED conversion, that's a center point issue. That's not our issue. That's a center point issue. All we have to do is invoke center point.
No, those are actually City of Houston lights, and City of Houston has actually changed, I would say, almost everyone in our neighborhood already.
To LED?
Yeah.
I haven't noticed.
I'll take responsibility here. All I was going to say is that just being a proactive board member is just throw some ideas out there about some better looking light posts that if, from a committee standpoint, if people, kind of buy into it and think, hey, it's a great idea, then maybe we can move forward.
I can tell you, Warren, from
If
experience,
if it gets canned, I just want to
if
bring
it
it
costs
up.
$1, you're a salmon swimming upstream. Okay.
But I'm glad you're doing that, that's great,
I see nothing wrong with their poles.
It's okay. We don't need to debate this tonight. It's just the question answer, just kind of bring it up to get some feedback, and that was it. It's just an idea because I will just say that, if you drive into West University, if you drive over into Afton Oaks, if you drive through Bunker Hill, with their stop signs, they sure do look nice with their powder coated black, and, it just has a very nice feel to it. So maybe next time you drive down Nip or you drive down Stray and just kind of look at what they've done recently there in Bunker Hill, those poles sure do look nice. And so anyway, I would just say, just as a takeaway, do that, and we don't have to decide on anything tonight.
Yeah.
But
The other place you can drive, they've actually done, when they redid, the city redid Gessner, past, Long Point, they put in totally new lighting on that street, it's bright. And they're real close to the ground.
Do you know for sure we have LED lights in our neighborhood?
Yeah,
We do?
They changed them all out like a year ago.
The one in my yard is.
This is a non-event.
Now, the signage, we don't have anything in the budget to cover that? There's not any extra funds?
No, we had to decide on the budget, basically about 6 or 7 weeks before Warren came to me and said, let's start planning some serious improvements. There is a surplus of funds within your account, but not within the budget. So prior year surpluses have rolled over. So there are funds available, to use towards improvements. We just didn't have,
30,000.
So if you look down on the bottom of your financial statement, the surplus is, I think it says $16,000.
That's a surplus.
Yeah.
So we could apply that to signage, but we have to vote for it.
I don't, is it a vote? I don't know.
no, it's a vote of the board,
So
so,
it's a board vote, but the money is there.
correct. But since it wasn't already noticed, we wanted the membership to be aware. The board is working to improve the aesthetics of your association. They are trying to make, positive things happen for you guys, and getting your input on what's most important to you, what you would like the committee and the board to focus on. Just
if
keeps you guys in the loop.
How about keeping it for a rainy day? When something comes up that we really need to just spend for.
Yeah, from a governance point of view, I'm curious that the board has the ability to spend that money if they so choose. That sounds surprising to me. I would think from a governance point of view,
What's wrong with
that
proposing?
the board, if budget, and that budget is presented to the association and approved by the association, and anything outside of that budget needs to go back to the association for approval.
The association does not approve the budget. The board approves the budget. The association will vote to approve.
Is that in bylaws or something? Because
It's in your governing document.
that's an unusual governance.
That's
Maybe
how
you're right.
board
I just want to
make-
clarify one thing. When you talk about the budget approved, we're talking about total dollars, we're not talking about line items.
I understand that.
In other words, so the line items, you can go up and down, but
It's usually listed.
as long as you stay within the gross budget, you can do whatever you want.
So, I mean, this is an important point, so pardon me for belaboring it a little bit, but, so the board could approve, according to what you just said, any amount of money in the budget, and we would be responsible for that. Is that correct?
Within the dues that you guys pay every year, yes. The governing documents gives the board discretion over how to spend association funds. Now,
So if they decided to spend more than we have approved, including our savings account, and the dues, then they would have to come back to us before they could spend that?
Well, there's no money to spend.
Well, hold on a second.
This is,
I think you're on a good point, because it's my understanding that the board presents the budget for approval,
you said no.
but that's bullshit. Okay, the board has always presented the budget for approval, and it's approved usually at the annual meeting.
We approved the budget in October.
yeah,
Were you here for that
Back in the
meeting?
meeting that we had?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was by the homeowners,
So
right?
we're talking about,
Was that approved by the homeowners?
let's let legal counsel
I think
clarify
we're
this
kind of
just a little
talking
bit.
about 2 or 3 different issues.
Okay.
Homeowners associations are typically set up as board-managed associations, not member-managed. And what that means is you elect the board, and the board makes most, if not all, decisions regarding the association.
Right.
There is a handful of decisions that the membership makes. Elections are one of them, amending your governing documents might be one of them, raising your dues above a certain set amount might be another. So most governing documents say the assessments can be raised annually by no more than 10% from the previous
Right,
year
right, right.
by a board vote. That's a board decision, setting the budget and deciding whether.
That's all in the bylaws.
And then above 10%, and I haven't looked at y'all, so I don't know what it is, but anything above whatever's in the bylaws or the restrictions, that goes out to a membership vote. So they have to work within what was previously set. If we're talking, and if there's a
Can they spend
surplus.
more than that?
No, so if there's a surplus in any given year, they have discretion to spend it within the limits of the purposes of the assessment. And that's kind of their
They have to
limit.
stay within the budget, not the
No,
assessment.
she's saying, that's not what she's saying. She's saying the budget plus that.
The budget plus the surplus.
Okay, so just for our part, so we can all sleep at night, okay? Let's say the board decided to do that. They said, look, we know how to spend this extra $30,000 plus the budget, and we have the right to do that. And all of a sudden, there's something else that's another $10,000 but we don't have it, and the reserve's gone, and the budget's gone, they cannot spend that. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. The
So they
bylaws,
cannot put us in debt.
the bylaws, and
that-
I'm looking it up, there is
Is that correct?
That
language.
is correct, you can't prove it yet.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it's good for us to understand this.
But I thought that the budget, excuse me, but I thought once the budget was approved, you're saying that assuming that the board approves a budget within the guidelines, it doesn't need homeowners' approval. And I think I understand that point. But if the board wants a budget that goes outside of the assessments, then it requires more.
yeah, just one thing has to come before another. So
Okay.
they set the assessment rate at $600 and multiply that times 110. That's
Right.
what they have to work with,
Right.
right? Next year, if they want to spend more than that, they're going to have to increase the assessment.
Right.
And up to maybe 10%, they can.
Without homeowners' approval.
Without homeowners' approval.
Okay.
Wait, what about the 30,000 that's outside of that?
So the surplus is just money in the bank. It's your savings. And it's what, there's
But
it's hard to issue a budget where you're exactly on point. So some years you're going to be a little bit less and some years you're going to be over. Any of that extra funding can go into a reserve account. It can go into a savings account. And the board has discretion to spend that money within the confines of the
Wait,
purposes of the association.
you're saying the board has the authority to spend the surplus that's in the bank that's over and above the budget?
Yes,
That doesn't sound right.
yes, it
Well,
does.
she said-
There's some limits
That does not sound
for
right.
homeowners associations that have maybe a capital reserve account, so they might be limited in where they can spend it. So they can only spend it in capital.
Does that ring true to you?
Well, I think they changed the rules. Back when we were doing it, they were very strict. You had to have capital budgets and they had to be approved by the homeowners. Everything got approved by the homeowners.
Right.
The budget, if we did any capital
Exactly.
spending. But I think somewhere along the way, that's been changed. I don't think that's the current
I'll
rule.
tell you this.
When they redid it, I think they pulled
Yeah,
off.
no,
I'm having a hard time. I'm having a really hard time
That's
that
fine.
the board arbitrarily can spend a.
It's not arbitrary.
Oh, it is, that's what you just said.
It's
They-
not.
That the board at their discretion can spend the
That's
surplus
not
budget.
arbitrary, sir. They have to spend it within whatever the purposes of the assessments may be used for, right? So if the assessments may be used for trash collection or landscaping or lighting, they have to use it within the confines of what the restrictions say. And I've been doing this for 15 years and it's never been.
You have a budget and you have a surplus. They're two different items. You have the budget that the board establishes, and if it's within the caps, then what you're saying is homeowners don't have to approve it. Years past, we've had an annual vote on that, but that's okay.
That's probably.
That's okay. But if it's within, if the budget's approved by the board within the caps, everything's kosher. When you go outside that, you're getting into the surplus. That, and to me, is outside the board's approval.
That's not true, but we can agree to disagree.
So the board can spend whatever the hell they want to spend, as long as there's money in the bank, we can spend it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Are we still a member managed association, or was that switched to a board managed association?
It's always been,
It's always been board
since
managed.
its incorporation, it's been board managed. The original bylaws created a.
You're talking about the amended board, you're talking about the amended, not the original, because the original they've been gone with. You're talking about the amended, that was done 10, 15 years ago.
Even
Original incorporation of the association was for a board managed association. Even when it was under development.
The rules of the amended, that we had were broken several weeks, the year that we all of a sudden went to a $600,
Well, hold on a second. You're saying the original bylaws of the thing 40, 50, 60 years ago, those were done away with.
Well, I understand about, but when the association was incorporated, it was incorporated with bylaws, because you do those
I
things at
understand,
the same
but
time.
they were amended and restated 10 or 15 years ago, and
Yes.
that's what you have to abide by.
But
It's always
that-
been board managed. is
It's
the point.
always been board managed.
Okay,
that's
fine.
fine.
I'm just
That's
saying,
that's
I'm
not-
just saying that the old thing's all been terminated.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Kind of in the same vein here about improvements, did we ever decide who's responsible for when the brick wall falls down? I was looking at it the
Yeah.
other day. and it's-
We were talking about that earlier, and so.
That was
with that-
part of the reason we sat on all that money, because we didn't know where we were going.
You're talking about the wall in Memorial?
So,
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
kind of included in the signage discussion.
yeah, that's the
So,
same, we were talking about that as well.
we never could establish who, whether it was the homeowner or we never did get a resolution.
We feel strongly both ways.
So
ultimately, a survey is going to tell us where that wall lies.
in a land survey, yeah, so we're gonna look at reaching out to those homeowners where that's at and see if they have surveys. that
There's
can
only
tell.
one. You're talking about one home.
It seems
Well,
like
actually,
you-
there's like
You're
seven.
talking about the one on Memorial.
Yeah.
The one, there's only one homeowner. There's only
I suggested
Well, there's walls at all 4 entrances, aren't there?
Yeah,
The one we're talking about is the one on Memorial that's leaning severe.
Well, they're all on Memorial, so
Yeah, but
it's either the high
The one
wing
in Wink is,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's,
I was just gonna suggest we look at.
is that the ownership of the person living
I'm sorry,
there?
no, 1 second, let's have one person at a
I
time.
guess I was gonna suggest before we start looking into landscaping and maybe irrigation and all this kind of stuff, we get that question answered.
Well, we had talked about that, so I think that's part of the whole package to look at it and make some decisions of where we would go with it.
The other thing, one of our security companies that work for us came and told us not to put a lot of money into putting fancy entrances in, because you're just attracting burglars.
That's bullshit. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
I'd like to comment on security.
Sure.
My name is Sid Lindsay, and we pay about $1,000 a month for security, I think. On July the 30th at 5 p.m., my wife was mugged at our front door. She was body slammed, hit her head and her tailbone. And the guy it was a single guy. He got a laptop computer, a new iPhone. She had about $500 cash with her sister. It owed her some money. Anyway, he left. I called HPD and they were there within 6 minutes. Our constable never showed up, so I guess they don't talk to each other. But I did call this report we get every month or so from the constable's office. I did call that guy, thinking I was talking to the constable's office. But he's just an individual who reports that as a favor, apparently. And they chose not to put that in his report. I thought about telling Peggy Abshire, but, she's not responsible for taking care of all of us. So anyway, I just want you to know crime pays, and it pays very well. I don't think we're getting any value for what we pay. And just be careful.
What street do you live?
Highbury, 83 Highbury,
What time of day was it?
5 p.m.
Did you call?
Call the constable, like there's a number that.
No, we call HPD. In my mind, they're the real police. Constables either babysit and do some, what they call security work or traffic control. And they make money off both of those things.
But they,
I
in my
wish I
experience,
had-
the constable comes quickly
Well, HPD was 6 minutes.
but I mean, they should be there in like a couple of minutes.
I live next to Andrea. We had the kids that had a pistol. It was a BB gun. It turned out to be a BB gun, but when we saw them drive by us, it looks like a pistol. And I had put that new constable number in my phone, and I called that constable line, and they were here like that. And so I think if
Like
you...
that, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh, a handful. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if you dial 911, which I have before, it goes to City of Houston, and that takes forever. But I was calling. They have a direct constable line, and
Yeah.
somebody here I can give it to you. But
Every time I've called them, it's been a minute,
Yeah.
maybe. They're at the front door.
They got people in the area.
Well, in precinct 5, or the constable's office specifically precinct 5, they actually have crime labs, they have a detective division. They're not, I mean, I've seen
Most
them
of them
come.
couldn't keep up with a teenager in a race.
You would think,
Anybody want
you'd
the
think that they
constable
would
number? I
talk,
can give it
but
to you right now.
they don't.
Andrew,
I'm just telling you to be careful.
Thank you, thank you.
Susan Weston is a good alternate security.
Constable number is 281
I know the number.
463 6666. Yes, ma'am.
Just a very general question. I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask, but the one issue that I was wondering about is communication within Lakeview, because we used to have Peggy dealing with email communications, and then from time to time we wouldn't talk to the neighbors about something. So the question is, do you have a list of current emails that you can share with us that we can own as a neighborhood, that we can send out or have control of communicating with our neighbors?
Within the resident portal, so
Right.
Real Manage has the resident portal, and there's an option on that portal when you register to be included in the neighborhood directory. So you can share, neighbors individually can share their, whatever contact information they feel comfortable, their email address, phone number, and if they opt into that directory, there is a directory available through the portal, but the email addresses that I have that I use to send like the email blast to you guys, that is not something as a practice I share.
So then are we able to then go in and get a group email from that portal
If
that we can access?
if those owners opted into the directory, yes.
But you don't ever send out, like if you heard about this incident, you wouldn't like do an update and send it to all the homeowners? It seems like that's relevant.
There's
information.
there's a saying that I use, and some people love it and others hate it, but I always say that I serve at the pleasure of the board. So if the board asks me to communicate specific information to you guys, I'm happy to. We did look into doing a newsletter. We found that for your association, enlisting a third party to do a newsletter was the cost was prohibitive for you guys. Just one second. The other thing that I've seen go around is the newsletter or the status update that comes from the villages. That tends to include you guys as well and has been pretty comprehensive. I'm not sure how you get on that mailing list.
That's what I call.
But that's been the most comprehensive one I've seen without incurring additional costs for the association.
So can you email everybody and sort of ask, is there a way for us to sort of spoon feed people into logging their information on there, making it shareable? Because I just think a lot of people don't know that they have to do that, and I think that the only way we're going to be able to, like, we had a Halloween party and we didn't have a complete email address, and then I gather that if we want you to send something out, we have to pay for it.
We didn't even know we were
Yes.
going on.
Oh, we have to pay for it
Exactly.
and
We
you
sent out an email,
anything
but
out?
wasn't, because
$30.
Well, I'm on the board, so I'm gonna be your worst nightmare, okay? Number one is that when it comes to security in the neighborhood, it is nonsense that someone has to opt in to be notified of a security issue. There should be a situation, when it comes to security, there should be a blanket email sent out to everyone, letting everyone know the situation. I am sincerely sorry for your situation, but let me tell you something. There is no way in heck or high water that we can have enough security to make us happy. Okay? We've talked about security for 50 years in this neighborhood, and I've been involved in much of it, and there's just no way we as a neighborhood can be totally secure. Well, I've been here 43 years, and I think I know what's been going on. Yeah. But what's changed is there are so many lawnmower crews, and I'll bet you most of their people. Unless we become a gated community and have a registration, it's just not going to happen.
So, if they get away with it, they've gotten away with it.
It's not going to happen. But I think there should be a collective collaboration of information. When something experiences like that, everyone should know about it.
Well, even the Halloween party, I'd like to see what it would cost and see if we could vote. I bet the neighborhood would love. I don't blame
Well, I
Peggy
tell you
for
what,
retiring.
I want to say this. I think that this is all good feedback, and I will tell you, even for myself during the holidays, I left my car out because I had another car at home, another truck, and I left my Suburban out, and I left it unlocked. Somebody went through my car.
Yeah, we're not talking about it.
Okay,
We're not talking about.
So it would have been good to send that out. So I think maybe what we need to do is kind of part of our question and answer deal, is we come up with some kind of little protocol that if something happens, we can send a little memo out and everybody can say, hey, if you have something that happens, report it, and then, we can send it out. But Sid, if you didn't reach out to me, I didn't know about it. If you didn't reach out to Randy, we didn't know about it. So we couldn't issue anything, but I think there just needs to be a protocol that if something happens, this is what we do. And we're willing
We
to.
haven't had a directory in a long time, and I don't think people have the numbers of the board. I mean, even a sheet of paper.
I tell you
or
the
an
problem with
email.
the directory. I'm in the employee benefits business, and like the healthcare companies, they wouldn't print a directory today if they had to. And the reason why is because it's out of date as soon as they print it. And some people don't want their cell phone numbers out there. And let me tell you, there's a lot of fines and penalties about getting private data. I'm going to tell you that underneath the HIPAA laws, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, is that emails and names falls underneath that. If you actually send an email out with like people's full name and their addresses, that's private information. You can't do that. So a lot of things have changed since 20 years ago of having these little homeowner directories. And so, anyway, so just to say that you've got to follow some rules.
With the board on it, so, or have somebody hand it out like you do the Christmas party, so people would know who to call.
Yeah.
if
Well, some
there's an
people
issue.
don't want, so I think the best thing to do is, why don't we advertise, like Andrea said, to go into the portal and elect to have your information shared if you want to do that.
But Warren, we as a neighborhood should not be held to the same standard as the corporation who's trying to comply with all of the.
Well, the only thing
Yeah.
I've had is it takes just one individual to throw a little kink in that and then raise hell with us. And so
We
we've got problems.
as a neighborhood should be able to stand, should be able to
I'm
stand.
with you. I'm with you.
Okay,
Trust
I
me,
just
I'm
don't
with
want our benchmark to be on par with what corporate America has
you.
to live with.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you, but-
So the CYA thing is okay to a point,
Yeah.
but this security thing needs to be absolutely broadcast to everybody. Everybody needs to be on alert, everybody needs to be notified, and this so-called, I have to elect who to a portal to be notified.
Everybody's gonna have.
That's not right.
There has to be a process, which we can get options for, but there has to be an opt-in. We
No,
can't force them.
no.
can't force people to
There does
do
not have to be
anything
an
they
opt-in at all,
You know,
okay?
Okay.
Everybody needs to be notified if there's a security issue. Everybody,
Okay.
period.
Some people don't want to get notified.
I don't care if they want it or not, they should be
Let me
notified.
say something.
Okay?
Every university in America right now has a process in place that if there's an active shooter or some sort of issue, there's an alert that goes out. Every single university, hundreds of thousands of students. There's no HIPAA issue with that.
Exactly. We're not talking about that.
And so if we have a management company that does have access, I believe, to communicate with us, and there should be some sort of an alert that can go by, either text or email or something, that when there's an issue that occurs, like this gentleman had, or that gentleman had. It's important, I think, for all of us to be aware when, as quickly as possible when there's issues like that. And, I think that we can get a mechanism that does that.
Yeah,
And I
security, we don't compromise on security. That's the bottom
So
line.
here's what we're trying to say. There's two different things. So I'm 100% with y'all that what somebody has to do though, is somebody has to reach out to Randy and say, hey, listen, my wife was mugged yesterday, and here's what went on. I want you to send a notice out to the neighborhood. I don't care anybody sitting up here. I'd be glad to pay the $35 if they have the time it takes to write that and do it. I don't care. I'm with you. Nothing wrong with security.
The board could approve that.
We can approve that expense.
$35
I say,
is so insignificant.
that's exactly right. I'm with you. I'd be glad to pay it
I
myself.
just can't spend
But-
association funds
That's okay.
without buy-in from the board. So when I say I serve at the pleasure, if I know about it and there's something that needs to be communicated to you guys,
But-
my
but-
experience with the board is that they do not balk, not one bit, at making sure that you guys are informed on.
I
everything.
understand, but what I'm getting at is your portal. Some people have opted in, some people haven't. I tried to get into your system, I couldn't figure it out, so I have no idea. So the fact is, I don't care whether they've opted in or not, there should be a default in your system when it comes to security that everyone in the neighborhood is notified. And if that's not done, that needs to be implemented.
Okay.
Yeah,
Me
let's talk about two different
me
things.
having a homeowner's email address and being able to email you guys is different from that homeowner buying into a directory that all of their neighbors see their contact information.
Again,
I
I
have
don't
nine-
care if it's a security related issue. You need to send it out and figure it out how it works.
That can be
Okay.
done. She just, that's
We
not a
will
problem.
figure
I
that
don't-
out.
She put a cap, she put a cap.
But the only thing that, what we're trying to say is that real managed can't just go give out email addresses, that's it. But they can send out an email address, no problem at all. So all we need to do is next time something like this happens, Sid, go ahead and just send the notice in to Randy. And as a board, if it's a security issue, why don't we just approve to say, hey, send out any security issues. So if we need to do that tonight, let's go ahead and just make that, let's just make a decision
Because
here.
you can send one addressee at the top and have everybody else blind and
Yeah,
no one else,
and
and no one else sees
she'll
it.
send
And
it
no
out.
one else sees it,
She'll
okay?
send it out, so let's just make that
Okay.
rule. So anybody here, just kind of spread the word, if there's a security issue, let Real Manage know, and they'll send it out to every email address that they have.
This isn't my point, though. My point is,
Be careful.
if he gets away, he's gone forever. He will not be caught.
You're right. And he
All
will,
you can do is be aware of what's happened.
but if no, we're not notified, we're not aware, is the whole point.
Okay, there currently exists and I've been on it for 4 or 5 years, neighborhood sandalwood. And you can sign up for it, and there are people who go on there immediately and post,
Next door.
next door, that's what it is. They said, this car's been driving up and down my street, here's the license plate number, keep an eye on it. Last week when that plant exploded, by 4:40, there was already postings on there of what exploded. It took the news until 5 o'clock to tell me what happened, but at 4:40, it was already posted by probably 15 people around the neighborhood who noticed.
I've had a lot, next door, I know about next door, I've had a lot of
Yeah,
complaints.
because
I've
people,
had-
they
I've had
put on
some
there,
complaints about it.
I was just mugged and, somebody stole my purse out of my car at Randall's, it was this car.
But here's the plus side, though, guys. If we do that, most of us have Ring cameras and all sorts of other cameras, ADT, all that kind of stuff. And the constables and the police department will come look at that. It happens 2 doors down from me. They came down the street or something like that, and we've got cameras to capture that. And
They'll
so
absolutely ask for that footage.
this neighborhood can come together in a way to help with that regard, so that the guy doesn't get away. And if, he's got to either leave the subdivision by one of 3 ways, and, there are cameras that capture that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, I get stuff on our Ring camera all the time of cars they go through.
The Rex Roads were caught, they caught the guys who got the Rex Road house from somebody else's camera.
Okay, you have questions?
Yes, I was not informed of this meeting, although I've been living in this neighborhood for too many years, meaning that I'm very old now. Kudos to the person that put the signs up. That's how I thank you. But I hear about something about a portal. I have no idea what you're talking about. What do I have to do to?
After the meeting, if you'll come up, Randy will be glad to get you that information. We'll get your email address and we'll make
And
sure
I can
get
send
on
you an
this.
email. In fact, if it's okay, I'd like to send a recap of the meeting. Likely Monday will be the best time that I'll have to do that. But I can send a recap of the meeting with instructions on how to join the portal and
To everybody, and with the list of the board and their phone numbers, whoever
Because
wishes to
I-
give them, so, or who to contact if there's an emergency.
Call Randy.
me.
Go,
Then put
real
your
handy.
name and number
Well,
and say that real quick, because there's what, 5 of us here, and there's 95 that aren't.
Absolutely. I'll include all of the information that can be helpful to you guys to log onto this portal, know how to contact me, and just the general events of this
Do
evening.
you have 110 addresses, 110 emails? Do you have a full inventory?
I've got about 98 of them at last count. I don't have a full inventory. Most of those I don't have are either new owners or investment properties, but I'm really close. So,
I really miss having the booklets and being able to know who's living here at this point. I'm sorry, I cannot stand computers. I don't know what a portal is, and so I miss it all. Is there some way that I can get something on paper that has everybody's name, address? I don't have to know how old the kids are or any of that stuff, like our old books did, but with telephone numbers to call.
We just don't have that.
Wait a second, why would we not have, this is a question for Randy, and I appreciate your question, because I'm kind of the same way. Why would we not have the ability, though, to tap into the system and have access to all the ownership?
as a board member, you do.
I understand. Okay, let's stop the board. Why would the individual homeowner not have access to the?
Because she
to the
doesn't want
neighborhood?
you to have access to her information.
She has to
Then
She
she
opted
doesn't
out.
have- she doesn't-
Right, so she,
Sorry
she
to put
doesn't
you
want
on.
the rest of the
You're still in the front row.
homeowners to have
You're
her
so
information.
bad. Okay.
So it has to do with
Sorry.
individual A wanting to
But
share.
hold 1 second. She should still have the ability to access the people that have said yes.
She does.
So she does have that.
She
So
can
we
log
do have that
in
ability.
and look at a resident directory and get everyone's information that opted in to say everyone can see.
Well, I've never seen a
So
resident.
you just need to be taught how to access.
You just gotta
need to be
have
taught
someone
how to
show
access
it to you and print it.
Well, I'm sorry.
Machine on.
It's the on button. It's the on button, okay? You have to push the on button.
All right. Hey, let's do this. We want to kind of keep things moving along. I know we have other things to do this evening. So with this, I think it's been a good discussion with Q&A, got some good takeaways. So what are we going to do from kind of a little committee standpoint to get some feedback? We've already got some of that. Do we need to do something else with that? We're going to
Early
contact.
next week, I'll reach out to those members who expressed interest and
Correct.
we'll
Okay,
go
wonderful.
from there.
Okay.
And then Randy, in that thing that you sent out, you add about the opting in for a directory type?
Yes.
So that people.
I'll make sure to highlight that.
Thank you. And then how to contact you directly, which you said.
And could I know about this without having to turn on a computer?
No, sorry.
Okay, we'll make a deal for Maxine. Here's what we'll do.
For you.
If you'll just email it to me directly, just kind of scan it in the sheet, and then I'll hand deliver it down to your mailbox. Okay? All right, you got it. We'll get that done. All right, let's move on to the next item. Just it says announcement of elected directors. So what do we need to do there? It says announcement of elected directors.
We already did that. We didn't
Okay,
have to vote.
already took care of that. Okay, very good.
Move we adjourn.
Well,
Okay.
can I,
Can I ask
one other topic?
How?
Sure.
Hang on just a second, Rick in the back first.
Back to pine trees. My neighbor
Oh,
across
yeah.
the street, they've been out there 3 days now cutting down diseased pine trees. Everybody needs to check your pine trees. It's 2 problems. There's a fungus that came after Harvey, and then the beetles hit.
Oh, they're
Okay,
back?
so Rick, hey,
Wait a second. Rick needs to come up to the front of the room
Yeah.
and give a 5-minute speech,
Yeah.
okay? Because he's dying,
I know.
he's dying to tell everybody.
Well, hang on, so let's do this. So Rick talked to me about this. This is something that's very important. Hey, so Rick, I think what might be a good thing to do, if you don't mind, could you maybe email Randy just kind of the details with even the inspector that you utilized? When they came out, Randy, so Rick's going to send you some information on it. So when you send this announcement out with kind of the recap of this, it's going to include it, It is something that's very important that we all need to be aware of, to have somebody come out and inspect your trees, so if you've got these beetles or you got the fungus, that you can address it, and Rick knows somebody who's helped him with his, and that's something we definitely want to take care
And that
of,
can be
because none of us
included in
want to
that.
have
I'll send you,
our
I'll
trees
send
die.
that to you.
So none of us want to have that happen.
Really quickly, can I steal you two real quick? I need Paul and Warren.
Okay.
Like, quick sidebar.
Okay, sure.
And I still have a question on my trash.
Somewhat.
No, we'll get to your question in just a second. You're not trash.
No, it's about her trash.
Oh, it's about.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I thought you said, I can borrow my trash.
The,
Hands out. The next one, there's no where they were.
the lady that I use, yeah,
Yes, wrong one. I like you.
Started an hour, 2 hours.
Me and Brandon, you
yeah, no,
share.
this is the, I used to put something that just strengthen the
How many years have you been there?
their heads.
Well, historically, everybody's in a good mood until we start spending money. We start spending money, everybody gets into a bad mood. Where'd Hubby go?
Okay. All right. Hey, thank you all very much for your time. Let's try to conclude. Okay, Maxine's got a question. Let's go, Maxine. What's your question?
There is one man who takes out the trash into the street. Then another one brings back the empty one. But he doesn't know where the first guy took them from. So I find them in the middle of the driveway and I can't get out of the driveway.
Your recycle?
He leaves your trash can there?
I would call Texas Pride.
She needs to know where that's.
Here, I'll give you the number.
Maxine, leave your goddamn trash in one spot. They'll bring it back to the same spot.
No, they don't.
Okay, here, Maxine, let's do this. Let's just get you the phone number for Texas Pride, and then have you give the gentleman a call if there is a phone. Okay, Brad, you gotta get it with.
Huh? Say it now. I have no comment.
Okay, so hang on one second, we'll get wrapped up. So Lee's gonna get the phone number here. You ready?
I don't have the actual number.
I'll look it up.
Can you-
I'll include it in the email that I send out.
Okay, and I'll deliver it. I'm gonna deliver it to your house. I'll deliver it. Okay. All right. So I think,
We're adjourned?
well, I need at first, somebody to first adjourn it, right?
I
Is that correct? Adjourn it?
I vote to adjourn.
And then a second.
Well, yes, but there's one other housekeeping item that's come up pretty recently. With the addition of Brad on the board, Paul has decided to resign from his.
You son of a bitch, okay.
It was a glitch.
So I think we can all agree that we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Paul.
Oh, man.
Check the gold watch.
You are not getting a gold watch.
So now, we adjourn now, Randy?
Yes, I'm actually looking at
And
Texas
we
Pride.
need a first and a second to adjourn? Or we just say we adjourn and we're
Did I
done?
tell you a funny story about this neighborhood?
2 seconds.
Okay. I had a caregiver, and the caregiver brought my husband back, brought him to the door, she gave me the keys for the car, out of her area in the driveway. 25 and a half hours later, I went outside, and I heard the car run. The car had been knocked down for 25 and a half hours, and nobody stole it.
And then it looks pretty great. It's in
This is our here, right here. This is President North.
You got some shit tips.